You lose value the moment you start explaining yourself. In a world obsessed with visibility, exposure has become the new form of self-sabotage. People confuse transparency with strength, thinking that showing every detail of who they are will make them understood, accepted, admired. But understanding breeds familiarity, and familiarity kills mystery. The more you reveal, the less they feel. What once fascinated them turns into something they believe they already know, something predictable, ordinary, replaceable. The tragedy of human nature is that we crave depth but are drawn to novelty. And when you show too much, you make it impossible for others to imagine more. Imagination is the source of attraction, not information. Think about it. What do people truly value? What they can't fully grasp. The person who says little leaves a void, and the mind rushes to fill it. The one who always speaks, who always explains, leaves nothing to be filled. Their words become noise, their emotions a map too easy to read. And when you're easy to read, you're easy to manipulate, easy to forget. Power isn't about being known. It's about being felt without being fully understood. Those who reveal too much rob others of the tension that keeps them intrigued. The secret of maintaining value is restraint. Restraint in words, restraint in emotions, restraint in presence. This isn't coldness, it's preservation. When you become too available, you stop being special. The mystery dies, and along with it, their desire to chase. Humans are hunters of the unknown, and when you turn yourself into an open book, you take away their instinct to pursue. That's why silence is magnetic. It creates an imbalance that makes others want to reach for more. They wonder what you're thinking, what you feel, what you're hiding. That wondering becomes obsession. But when you reveal everything, there's nothing left to wonder about. You become background noise in their mind. To maintain power, you must master selective revelation. Speak only when your words will shift the atmosphere. Share only what deepens your aura, not what diminishes it. The art lies in giving enough to awaken curiosity, but never enough to satisfy it. Let them see the outline, never the full image. It's not about deception, it's about control. Control over how you're perceived, over what energy you give away. Power leaks through overexposure. Every unnecessary confession is a withdrawal from your emotional bank. Every explanation, every apology, every attempt to prove your worth is a silent message. I need your validation. And nothing kills respect faster than visible need. When you show too much emotion, they stop feeling yours as powerful. Emotion is potent when it's contained. A storm is beautiful because it threatens, not because it explains itself. The same rule applies to you. Contained emotion radiates authority. Uncontrolled emotion reveals dependency. You lose power the second they can predict your reactions. Predictability makes you manageable. Silence, on the other hand, makes you ungraspable. It forces others to adapt to your rhythm. You set the tempo not through volume but through restraint. This is the paradox of value. To be desired, you must withdraw. To be respected, you must withhold. To be remembered, you must not always be present. Every time you expose yourself too easily, you teach others that your energy is cheap. They stop earning it. And humans only value what they must earn. Those who give themselves away emotionally, intellectually, or socially are consumed quickly and forgotten even faster. The people who last in others' minds are those who say less, appear less, and yet somehow dominate the thoughts of those around them. This is not manipulation, it's energetic discipline. You decide what others get to experience of you. The rest remains sacred. In a time where everyone is shouting for attention, your silence becomes luxury. Your restraint becomes a form of rebellion. Your mystery becomes a currency that others can't afford. But understand this, silence without self-mastery is just absence. Silence with awareness is control. You must know when to speak and when to vanish. You must learn to feel deeply yet reveal little. True control doesn't mean you suppress your emotions, it means you decide when and how the world gets to see them. This is the invisible boundary that separates the powerful from the powerless. Those who show everything are constantly reacting. Those who control what they show dictate how others feel. They are no longer part of the game. They are the game itself. So ask yourself, what are you revealing that should remain unseen? What part of your strength have you diluted by over-explaining, oversharing, over-proving? Every time you try to justify your silence, you lose its power. Every time you reveal your strategy, you lose its edge. The powerful are not mysterious by accident, they are mysterious by design. They understand that the human mind fills silence with fascination, while it fills noise with dismissal. Restraint is not repression, it's selection. It's knowing that your energy, your time, your thoughts, your presence, all have value. And value must be guarded. The modern world teaches the opposite, that to connect, you must expose, but exposure without boundaries is emotional bankruptcy. Power comes from scarcity. When your presence is rare, it becomes precious. When your emotions are disciplined, they become commanding. You don't need to be loud to be felt. You need to be intentional. And intention begins with self-control. Control over what you reveal, over when you speak, over who earns access. The fewer people who truly understand you, the greater your leverage. The moment everyone gets you, you become ordinary. And ordinariness is death to influence. Learn to become comfortable in mystery. Learn to resist the temptation to clarify your every move. Those who misunderstand you are revealing their own limits, not yours. Let them. Power doesn't explain. It simply exists, calm, detached, and undeniable. Remember, the less they know, the more they imagine. The more they imagine, the more power you hold. Never forget that showing too much is not generosity. It's surrender. Protect your mystery like it's your last defense, because in the world of perception it is. When you reveal too much, you stop being a question. You become an answer, and answers don't inspire pursuit. They end it. Human attraction, respect, and curiosity all live in the same psychological territory, the unknown. The mind craves completion, but the soul is magnetized by mystery. When people can't fully read you, they think about you. They replay your words. They overanalyze your silences. They project their fantasies onto your image. But when you show everything, they no longer have to imagine. You remove the tension that kept their mind orbiting around yours. The secret of power lies in understanding this law of human attention. Tension sustains fascination. The moment there's no tension, interest dies. This is why those who show too much, too quickly, too emotionally, too frequently, lose value. They confuse emotional expression with authenticity, thinking that openness equals connection. But connection doesn't come from exposure. It comes from energy exchange. And energy, like currency, must be handled with restraint. When you hand it out freely, it loses its worth. Every word you speak, every emotion you display, every piece of your private world you make public, all of it is a transaction. The wise learn to calculate each one. They understand that mystery is not an act. It's a discipline. It's the art of withholding enough to keep others guessing, but not so much that they stop reaching. It's the psychological balance between revelation and restraint. You must know when to pull away, just as much as you know when to appear. The world has conditioned people to overexpose. Social media made the private public, the sacred disposable, the emotional performative. People now equate noise with relevance and silence with absence. But in truth, the rarest form of power today is discretion. The person who knows how to remain unseen while being deeply felt holds invisible influence. Think of the people who hold your attention most. It's not the ones who speak endlessly, but the ones whose silence you feel even when they're gone. That's because mystery expands your presence beyond your physical absence. When people don't know what you're doing, they assume it's something significant. When they don't know what you're thinking, they assume it's something intelligent. The mind fills silence with imagination, and imagination magnifies power. This is why the ancient masters of strategy, from Sun Tzu to Machiavelli to Green, emphasized concealment. The less predictable you are, the more control you have. Predictability breeds vulnerability. When people can't predict you, they can't manipulate you, they move carefully around you. They respect you without even knowing why. Showing too much erodes this control. It gives people a map of your weaknesses, your emotions, your impulses, your triggers. And once they have that map, they can navigate you. They know which buttons to press, which compliments to give, which doubts to plant. You become readable, and the readable are always at the mercy of those who observe them. To reclaim your value, you must reintroduce mystery into your existence. Speak less, reveal less, share less of your inner world. This doesn't mean detaching from life, it means curating your presence like a work of art. Every masterpiece leaves parts of the canvas untouched, spaces where imagination can breathe. You must do the same with your character. Show outlines, not explanations. Let people sense your depth, not access it. The moment they feel they've reached the bottom of you, they stop digging. The wise never allow others to feel they've seen everything. They change rhythm. They withdraw at the peak of interest. They reveal contradictions that create tension. The mysterious person is never static. They are a shifting equation that others cannot solve. This makes them unforgettable. Understand this paradox. People don't value you for how much you give. They value you for how much they can't reach. Emotional scarcity creates demand. Psychological distance creates reverence. Strategic silence creates authority. Those who show too much collapse all three. They mistake visibility for impact, forgetting that the loudest people are rarely the most powerful. They are just the most exposed. Power doesn't come from being seen, it comes from being felt in your absence. If people talk about you when you're not around, you've mastered presence. If they forget you while you're in the room, you've overexposed yourself. Mystery is oxygen for influence. Remove it, and everything suffocates. So how do you restore it? Start by withdrawing what you've been giving too freely. Explanations, emotions, availability. The more they ask, the less you answer. The more they seek, the slower you respond. The more they assume, the quieter you become. Over time, your silence begins to speak louder than your words ever could. People will start to project meaning onto your stillness, and their projections will serve you more than your confessions ever did. This is the paradoxical truth of human psychology. The less you give, the more they invest. They start to chase understanding, to earn access, to prove themselves worthy of your time. You shift the dynamic without ever raising your voice. That's power. Silent, invisible, and irresistible. But this discipline demands self-control. It means fighting the impulse to correct others' perceptions of you. It means resisting the urge to overshare when you feel misunderstood. The powerful don't need to be understood. They need to be respected. And respect comes from emotional distance. The more emotionally available you are to everyone, the less sacred your presence becomes. Power is sacred energy, and sacred things are never placed in the open. They are guarded, hidden, revealed only to those who have earned the right. That's what creates value. The sacred draws reverence because it is inaccessible. You must treat your emotions, your thoughts, your time, and your presence with the same sanctity. Not everyone deserves to know you. Not everyone should see your depth. Those who show too much lie exposed, and exposure is vulnerability. Invisibility is protection. Learn to be invisible in a world that wants to see everything. Learn to be silent in a world addicted to noise. That is how you build power that cannot be taken. The mysterious are untouchable because no one fully knows where to find them. Every time you overexpose yourself, you teach others that your presence can be taken for granted. Human psychology is built on contrast. What's always available fades into the background, while what's scarce becomes precious. This is why people pay attention only after you withdraw. They start to see your value once your energy is no longer freely given. When you're always explaining, always showing, always proving, you condition others to expect you. They stop feeling your presence as a privilege. It becomes routine. And routine is the slow death of influence. Those who maintain power understand this truth. The more you give, the less you are respected. The human mind, wired for novelty and challenge, cannot revere what it fully possesses. It needs something to chase, something to earn, something to wonder about. When you reveal everything, you remove that psychological tension, and in doing so, you erase your own gravity. Overexposure doesn't only diminish how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. The more you perform for attention, the more dependent you become on validation. You start to measure your worth through reactions, through likes, through approval. This dependency is subtle at first, but it corrodes your sense of inner power. Soon you're not expressing yourself, you're advertising yourself. Your emotions become public currency, traded for fleeting moments of connection. But true power never begs to be seen. It commands attention without seeking it. The paradox of overexposure is that it disguises insecurity as openness. People will say they're being authentic when they're really just afraid of being forgotten. Authenticity isn't about showing everything. It's about showing only what aligns with your essence. And essence doesn't scream, it resonates quietly. You don't need to reveal your every thought, your every wound, your every success. The powerful reveal fragments, enough to inspire curiosity, not enough to satisfy it. They speak rarely, but when they do, every word feels deliberate, like the pause before thunder. The weak speak constantly because they fear silence. They fear being unseen, unheard, irrelevant. But silence doesn't erase you. It refines you. It filters out the noise, the unnecessary, the impulsive. When you become comfortable with not being seen, you become unshakable. You start moving from the center of your own gravity, not from the pull of others' attention. This is psychological mastery, to control your visibility, not let it control you. Overexposure is a modern addiction, one fed by insecurity, normalized by culture, and disguised as connection. But connection that demands constant visibility is not connection, it's dependence. People think they're building relationships, but they're really building expectations they can never maintain. The moment you stop feeding the illusion, others retreat. They were never drawn to your depth. They were drawn to your availability. That's why those who are too expressive often feel misunderstood. They think, I gave so much, why didn't they value it? Because what's abundant rarely feels valuable. You must create distance to restore perception. The silence after overexposure becomes a reset, a psychological detox for both you and them. They start to remember your worth in your absence. They replay your last words, your last look, your last message. Absence reawakens imagination, and imagination rebuilds value. In relationships, in business, in social life, this law never fails. Those who are always showing eventually become invisible. Those who show strategically become unforgettable. Control is not about withholding for the sake of manipulation. It's about recognizing the economy of energy. Your attention, your thoughts, your emotions, these are currencies. The world is full of people bankrupting themselves emotionally, seeking validation from those who offer nothing in return. But the powerful invest their energy wisely. They know that not everyone deserves their truth. They know that giving access is a privilege, not an entitlement. Every mystery you preserve increases your psychological value. Every silence you hold becomes a statement of strength. People will always try to draw more from you, explanations, reassurance, details. But every time you resist, your presence grows heavier. You become something they can't fully grasp, and that inability to grasp you becomes fascination. The mind doesn't chase what it fully understands. It chases what it almost understands. Power lies in that almost. To master mystery, you must master detachment. You must be willing to be misunderstood, even disliked. Because those who fear being misunderstood will always over-explain. They'll justify every move, defend every silence, expose every thought, and in doing so, they'll dilute their presence until nothing remains but noise. The powerful accept that misunderstanding is a side effect of mystery. They'd rather be misjudged than predictable. They'd rather be intriguing than liked, because they know that fascination lasts longer than approval. Approval fades the moment you step out of sight. Fascination lingers in silence. When you stop showing too much, you stop needing too much. You reclaim the energy that overexposure drains. You stop chasing perception and start shaping it. You become the sculptor, not the sculpture. And that's when the world begins to adjust to your rhythm. They start waiting for your next move instead of ignoring it. They start asking questions instead of making assumptions. The balance shifts, not through effort, but through absence. The silence you once feared becomes the throne you sit upon. Every person who overexposes themselves eventually faces the same fate. They become known, but not respected, visible but not powerful, liked but not desired. To maintain value, you must let mystery return. Don't correct every rumor. Don't explain every decision. Don't share every feeling. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Let them misunderstand, because in that gap between what they think and what they know, your power grows. Restraint is the highest form of self-respect. It is the art of saying no, not just to others, but to your own impulses. In a culture that rewards visibility, restraint feels unnatural, almost rebellious. But the one who can resist the urge to show, to speak, to prove, becomes a force beyond comprehension. Restraint turns ordinary actions into symbols. A glance, a pause, a single word, all carry weight because they come from discipline, not compulsion. Every person who's ever held real power understood this truth. The one who can withhold can control. Silence is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. Those who can't restrain themselves are slaves to their reactions. They expose their intentions, their fears, their insecurities, and the world uses those leaks to dismantle them. But the person who practices restraint becomes untouchable. You cannot manipulate someone who doesn't need to respond. You cannot weaken someone who doesn't need to reveal. To hold back when you want to lash out, to remain still when provoked, to speak less when others are shouting, that is the essence of power, because power isn't proven through expression, it's revealed through control. Every time you resist the impulse to overshare, you strengthen your psychological fortress. Every time you choose silence over justification, you reclaim authority over your narrative. Restraint is self-possession, the ability to hold your own energy rather than scatter it. Those who show too much lose this possession. They become dependent on reaction. Their sense of identity shifts with every comment, every glance, every moment of approval or rejection. But the restrained person stands anchored within themselves. Their value isn't up for negotiation because it isn't built on visibility. It's built on presence, and presence doesn't require explanation. Restraint also amplifies your impact. What's rare commands attention. When you speak little, your words are studied. When you appear seldom, your presence is anticipated. When you reveal selectively, every revelation becomes memorable. This is why the quiet often lead the loud. They don't fight for attention, they command it. Because restraint forces others to lean in, to watch more closely, to think more deeply. The human mind interprets silence as significance. The less you say, the more meaning people assign to your words. The less you reveal, the more importance they attach to what you choose to show. You shape perception not by giving more, but by giving less, strategically, deliberately, with awareness. Restraint also protects you from emotional erosion. Every unnecessary explanation drains your power. Every confession to someone unworthy dilutes your strength. You are not obligated to share your story with everyone who asks. You are not required to express every feeling that passes through you. Maturity is learning that not every emotion deserves an audience. The world misinterprets this discipline as coldness, but it is not coldness, it is clarity. To remain mysterious in a world of exposure is not distance, it is self-preservation. You're preserving the part of you that the world hasn't earned, the sacred part that loses its magic when spoken too freely. Restraint is sacredness in motion, the invisible filter that separates your truth from their noise. You must learn to be comfortable with being misunderstood. When you practice restraint, people will project onto you. They'll call you detached, arrogant, unreadable. Let them. Their confusion is the shadow cast by your control. Never trade your mystery for their understanding. Understanding is comfort, and comfort kills fascination. The greatest mistake of those who want to be liked is that they show too much too soon. Their thoughts, their weaknesses, their hearts. They want connection so badly that they strip away the very tension that would have created it. The powerful do the opposite. They allow silence to build the bridge. They let curiosity do the work. They let the other person lean in, ask, wonder, chase. Because the moment someone begins to chase, the balance of power shifts. Restraint turns you from the pursuer into the prize. But this control requires self-awareness. You must know your triggers. The moments when you want to explain, prove, or seek validation. You must feel the pull of reaction and still choose stillness. Restraint is not repression, it's redirection. You're not suppressing your emotions, you're channeling them inward, converting their chaos into strength. Every emotion you don't externalize becomes energy stored within you, refined, condensed, powerful. That's why restrained people radiate intensity even in silence. Their energy hasn't been scattered, it's contained. Containment creates magnetism. The loud draw attention, the restrained draw respect. And respect lasts longer than attraction. It builds influence that doesn't fade when you're absent. Restraint also teaches patience, another form of power. When you don't rush to react, you start to see the patterns others miss. You see how people expose themselves through their impatience, how truth reveals itself when you wait long enough. Time becomes your ally. The undisciplined rush into exposure. The wise let others expose themselves. You learn more by observing than by performing. You build strength not by expressing constantly, but by mastering the art of timing. Every silence, every pause, every withdrawal becomes a move on the psychological chessboard. The impatient show their entire hand. The restrained win by not playing until it matters. That's why restraint isn't passive. It's strategic. You're not doing less, you're doing precisely what must be done when it has the most impact. You're not being quiet out of fear, you're being quiet out of command. The difference is power. Every person who has ever lost respect, influence, or attraction did so because they couldn't control their exposure. They gave away too much, too early, too easily. Restraint is how you stop the bleeding. It's how you rebuild your value, by making your energy rare again. People can't appreciate what's always available. They must feel your absence to remember your presence. Restraint gives them that contrast. It makes your silence louder than their noise. It makes your distance magnetic. It makes your composure unforgettable. Remember this. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is a form of power. It keeps others alert, careful, respectful. You don't need to demand attention. Your restraint demands it for you. The less you reveal, the more control you have over what others imagine. And imagination, once awakened, works in your favor. It paints you larger, deeper, stronger than you could ever paint yourself. That is the gift of restraint. It lets others build your legend for you. When you finally learn to hold back, the world begins to lean forward. People who once overlooked you start noticing your silence. Those who dismissed you start wondering where your energy went. The same ones who took you for granted now analyze every detail they once ignored. This is the natural return of value, the rebalancing that occurs when you stop overexposing yourself. Silence restores scarcity, and scarcity restores power. When you show less, every small revelation becomes significant. Every appearance becomes an event. Every word feels heavier, more deliberate, more meaningful. That is how you regain control of your narrative, not by demanding attention, but by becoming the kind of person who doesn't need it. The paradox of human attraction is that it's rooted in uncertainty. People are drawn to what they can't predict, to what doesn't fully reveal itself. When you withdraw, you awaken that ancient instinct of curiosity and pursuit. The more disciplined your silence, the more powerful your presence becomes. Absence turns into a lure. You no longer have to prove anything, because your restraint becomes proof in itself. Proof of confidence, proof of strength, proof of self-possession. Only those who doubt their worth feel the need to constantly display it. When you're truly centered, you let others do the work of interpretation. You don't rush to correct assumptions or chase explanations. You let the world wonder, and that wondering becomes your echo. It keeps your name alive in rooms you haven't entered. This is why every powerful figure in history understood the importance of distance. The more people see you, the more they normalize you. The less they see you, the more they mythologize you. The goal isn't to disappear, it's to appear strategically, to exist like a constellation, visible enough to be remembered, distant enough to remain mysterious. When you show too much, you reduce yourself to the mundane, but when you withhold, you invite reverence. Reverence is what turns presence into influence. It's what makes your silence heavier than their noise. Those who talk endlessly burn quickly, loud flames that light up fast and die faster. Those who master silence burn slowly, steadily, with a heat that lasts. Power has nothing to do with volume. It has everything to do with control. When you can control what you show, you can control what they feel, because perception is shaped not by what's visible, but by what's withheld. Think about the people who fascinate you, They're not necessarily the most talented nor the most expressive. They're the ones who leave space for imagination. They're the ones whose silence feels alive, whose presence feels rare. That's the essence of value. Rarity. Everything abundant becomes invisible. Everything rare becomes magnetic. Your energy must be treated like something rare. Not everyone can have it, not everyone can understand it, not everyone can reach it. When you learn to operate from that awareness, your life changes. Conversations become more intentional. Relationships become more selective. Your time becomes sacred. You stop explaining your every choice because you know that truth doesn't need to be defended. You stop oversharing your emotions because you understand that power feels more potent when contained. You stop showing up everywhere because presence means nothing without absence. You move differently, slower, quieter, more deliberately, and the world responds in kind. People begin to measure their words around you. They pause before they speak. They try to read your silences, not realizing that the silence is the message. It says, I am in control, I don't chase validation. I reveal on my terms. It's not arrogance. It's equilibrium. You've stopped leaking energy. You've stopped performing for attention. You've stopped making others comfortable at the expense of your own mystique. That shift, subtle, invisible, internal, is where true transformation begins. The world can sense when someone has stopped needing it. That's when the balance of power reverses. Those who once overlooked you now seek your attention. Those who used to test your boundaries now respect them. And those who tried to define you now struggle to understand you. You've become what they cannot decode, and what cannot be decoded cannot be controlled. That is the pinnacle of quiet dominance. To exist with depth that cannot be fully measured. To move with calm that cannot be shaken. To express emotion without losing composure. You no longer respond from impulse, you respond from choice. You no longer reveal for approval, you reveal for effect. Your restraint becomes art, your silence becomes language, your presence becomes power. But understand, this power is not for show. It's not to impress. It's to align. To live in control of your visibility is to live in control of your energy. You give where it's earned, not where it's demanded. You reveal where it's strategic, not where it's emotional. That's how you remain untouchable in a world addicted to exposure. The truth is, people don't forget silence. They feel it. It lingers, it echoes, it unsettles. They fill it with thoughts of you, with assumptions, with questions. And every time they do, you gain presence without effort. That's why restraint multiplies influence. It makes the world do the work for you. You are no longer trying to be seen. You are allowing yourself to be perceived. And perception, once shaped by mystery, turns into myth. The quiet ones always become legends, not because they said more, but because they said enough. You don't need to shout to be remembered. You just need to stay disciplined enough to let your silence speak for you. Because silence doesn't compete. It conquers. It commands attention, not by asking for it, but by deserving it. When you stop showing too much, you start being seen for what you truly are. Power is not loud, it's still, not expressive, composed. Not exposed, concealed. The world will always chase what it doesn't fully understand. Make sure that includes you. If this truth resonates, it's because you've already begun to wake up. You've already felt the fatigue of exposure, the emptiness of constant visibility, the hunger for something deeper. This is your reminder. Pull back. Guard your silence. Protect your mystery. Value your restraint. Because every time you do, your value returns, multiplied. Power isn't about being seen, it's about being felt. And silence isn't the absence of power, it's the proof of it. Subscribe, because real power doesn't shout, it whispers.